Ma जी की जय। चलो गुण जीत गुणेढ्या नक्तं दिवं सकरुणं तव पाद पद्मं मोहं कशं बहुकृतं न भजे यतोऽहं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो भक्तिर्भगस्य भजनं भवभेद कारे गच्छन्त्यलं सुविपुलं गमनाय तत्त्वं वक्रोद्धृतोऽपि हृदमे न च भाति किञ्चित् तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो तेजस्तरन्ति तरसा त्वयि तृप्त तृष्णा रागे कृते हृतपथे त्वयि राम कृष्णे मर्त्यामृतं तव पदं मरणोन्मिनाशं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो कृत्यं करोति कलुषं कुहकान्तकारे श्नान्तं शिवं सुविमलं तव नाम नाथ यस्मादहं त्वशरणो जगदेकगम्य तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्म स्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भगवते राम कृष्णाय नमो नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। सर्वमङ्गल माङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। सृष्टि स्थिति विनाशानां शक्ति भूते सनातनी गुणाश्रये गुणमये नारायणी नमोस्तुते। शरणागत दीनार्त परित्राण परायणे सर्वस्यार्थे हरे देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। जय 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 महामाई की जय। जय भगवान श्री रामकृष्ण देव की जय। जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय। जय श्री श्री सरस्वती माई की जय। प्रकृतिं परमामभयां वरदा नररूपधरा सागर पार करी प्रणमामि परा जननी जगता विषयं कुसुमं परिरुत्य सदा चरणामृहां भूतशान्तिसुधा पिब भृङ्गमनोभवरुगहरा प्रणमामि परा जननीं जगतां कृपां कुरु महादेवी सुतेषु प्रणतेषु च चरणाश्रयदानेन कृपामयि नमोऽस्तु ते लज्जापटावृते नित्यं शारदे ज्ञानदायिके पापेभ्यो न सदा रक्ष कृपामयि नमोऽस्तु ते रामकृष्णगतप्राणां तन्नाम श्रवणप्रियां तद्भावरञ्जिताकारा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः पवित्रं चरितं यस्या पवित्रं जीवनं तथा पवित्रता स्वरूपिणे तस्यै कुर्मो नमो नमः देवीं प्रसन्नां प्रणतात्रिहन्त्रे योगीन्द्रपूजा योगधर्मपात्रे तां शारदां भक्तिविज्ञानदात्रे दयास्वरूपां प्रणमामि नित्यं स्नेहेन वन्दास्मनोस्मदीयं दोषानशेषान् सगुणे करोषि अहेतुनानो दयसे सदोषान् साङ्गे गृहीत्वा यदिदं विचित्रं प्रसीद मां विनयेन याचे नित्यं भवस्नेहवतेषु तेषु प्रेमैकबिन्दुचिरदग्धचित्ते विषिञ्चेतं कुरु न सुशान्तं जननीं शारदां देवी रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रीत्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः।
Namah Shri Atirajaya Vivekananda Sure Sachit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Kamahani. So we were discussing this lecture of Vivekananda, Unity in Diversity, as he said, that it's a free rendition of the second part of the Kathopanishad. And we had gone through a fair bit of this last time, including a number of verses from the second chapter, second canto. And we had read out the original verses from the Kathopanishad last time. And then this is the place where he starts with the next chapter of the second canto. Yeah? Here is another, this is from the original lecture, and we'll read out the original Sanskrit from the Kathopanishad later. Here is another beautiful simile. Those of you who have been in India and have seen how the banyan tree comes from one root and spreads itself far around will understand this. He is that banyan tree. He is the root of all and has branched out until he has become the universe, and however far he extends, every one of these trunks and branches is connected. Here is the original verse. Actually, a version of this, the Bhagavad Gita comes after the Upanishads. Once you hear the verse, you should be able to recognize that this is a version of this is there in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Urdhva mula avak shakha esho ashwatha sanatana tadeva shukram tad brahma tadeva amritamuchyate tasmin loka shrita sarve tadu natyeti kaschana etad vaitat. Urdhva mula, with the root up above in the heavens, avak shakha, with its branches spreading downwards. Usually what happens is that you have the way we look at a tree, it's got its roots on the ground and its branches are up. Yeah? Here, it's as if this world has its roots in the heavens. Yeah? What it means is that it originates from the subtle and spreads its branches. That the spread of the branches is what we call the world. What about the root? Tat eva shukram tat brahma tat eva amritam uchyate. This can be interpreted in two ways. One is the root itself, this unseen root from which this tree emerges, that unseen cause is what is Brahman, or all-pervasive consciousness. Another way to interpret this is that whatever we see, this world and the root that it comes from, this is that all-pervasive consciousness itself. Which means, not only, these are two interpretations and that depend on the attitude of the mind. The first one is based on this approach, Sayesha Neti Neti Atma, which means essentially all that is manifest, limited, is not the essence of everything. We separate out these limited manifestations and what is left, that is pure consciousness itself. Yeah? The other attitude is to say that all that is manifest, all that we see around us, all that we perceive around us, yeah? All this is verily an aspect of that supreme reality. So there is no need to exclude anything, but to see it in a different light. These are two attitudes. What is called na iti. This is the penetrating analytic approach by which this is the penetrating analytic attitude by which that which is superficial, that which is not relevant to the quest for truth above everything else, that is discarded and reality per se is caught hold of. This is one approach, and the other is to essentially approach the entire world with a spirit of worship, in which everything that we see itself is supposed to be a symbol of the highest reality. And this is the what the Ishopanishad starts from, Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Yeah? So this is the second attitude. Anyway, whatever it be, the first, I mean, this particular lecture, these two lines, what Vivekananda is referring to here is this verse, Urdha Mula Vakshaka Eshwashatha Sanatana Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma Tadeva Amritam Uchyate Tasmin Loka Shrita Sarve Tatu Natyeti Kashana. Nothing surpasses that. At this stage, what is being emphasized in this lecture is the following. First, we perceive this reality and have one of two attitudes to it. One, divinize every action or divinize everything that we see, hear, perceive, or look at whatever we see, hear, perceive and discard that as a more superficial representation pointing towards a greater, deeper reality. We are putting it in different words, but really are these two things so different? When we say that we need to divinize everything that we see around us, it means essentially the same thing as trying to penetrate through appearances. Essentially, wherein lies the difference? It is a certain frame of mind which says, no, it's not just this, not just this. There is something beyond which we want to see. The other says, oh, this is a symbol of something so much greater, something so much greater. Essentially, both attitudes are moving towards the same goal. It's phrasing it somewhat differently, nothing more, nothing less. What is common to both? What is common to both is that it is in the here and now that this quest is being made. It is in our subjective understanding of the world, of ourselves, of our goal in the here and now that is being emphasized, both in the divinization of the world around us or in the statement that, no, I want to seek a greater and deeper truth. In both these attitudes, this particular starting point is always necessarily emphasized. It is in the here and now. This is our raw data. Not something mystical, not something beyond, not something hidden in some twilight zone. But the starting point is this thing which is clear to us at the moment. It might not be the whole truth, but if the truth is to be hunted for, if the truth is to be sought out, it is to be sought out here, not in some manufactured stories. This is the stress that is being laid, and this leads to the second paragraph here. And Vivekananda emphasizes that various heavens are spoken of in the Brahmana portion of the Vedas, but the philosophical teaching of the Upanishads gives up the idea of going to heaven. Here is a key point. Gives up the idea of going to heaven. In a different place, Vivekananda basically says that, look, all these ideas of heavens and hells is just glorified materialism, nothing else. What is it saying? That, I in this physical form I'm not going to be able to survive my death. So what do? So I imagine a physical form. So I imagine a material form and then an imaginary material universe in which this imaginary material form will inhabit. That's what it's going towards. In other words, the story which has no basis in fact except in this ardent aspiration of the human subject for eternal existence. So why stop at the story? Why stop at the story of heaven and hell and not look inward and perceive that which is giving rise to the story? And that which is giving rise to the story is hidden in the heart of every individual human being. There the truth has to be sought, not in the outside. And so, it's basically what is being said here, gives up the idea of going to heaven, is giving up these little stories that fool us, that take us off our path and pursue this quest for truth above everything else, in and through perhaps these stories. Yeah? Again, what was the purpose of these heavens? What was the purpose of these stories in the Brahmana portion? Essentially, this was supposed to be a way of inculcating the spirit of dharma in people. What was that? It's basically, look, if you do good stuff, you're going to go to heaven. If you do bad stuff, you're going to go to hell, etc., etc. What is this really an attempt to do? It's essentially an attempt to bind society into norms so that people as a consolidated whole can survive on this earth. This is the simple material aim and end of all this. But then, if we don't have this shared narrative, if we don't have this shared belief system, what will happen is that society as it exists today is going to collapse. Therefore, these stories were necessary. It was a very utilitarian purpose that they were serving. A shared narrative in terms of stories was helping us coexist with our fellow beings without trying to understand what this coexistence with fellow beings really means. And what is being said here is that this coexistence is a reflection of a deeper truth, which is the oneness of existence of us with our fellow beings in the here and now. We do not need to create a narrative. We do not need to create these stories to cover up this simple fact. The problem really lies in accepting as true this following thing, that I, as an individual, am separate from this world around me. I am separate from these people around me. This is the root of the problem. And to address that, these various stories are being made in order to tell us otherwise, that no, we are not different. If you do good, then you go to heaven. You do bad, you go to hell. What is being suggested in the Upanishads is no. This assumption that you are different from the world on which you build your stories is itself false. It does not withstand scrutiny. And so if this assumption is analyzed and shown up to be something superficial, paltry, and not of substance, then the problem is solved completely. And the truth is arrived at. And so, what exactly is the aim? It's essentially moving the mind towards a deeper quest. That's what is being encouraged. Happiness is not in this heaven or in that heaven. It is in the soul. Places do not signify anything. Here is another passage which shows the different states of realization. We'll come to that in a moment. But again, happiness is not in this heaven or in that heaven. It is in the soul. Places do not signify anything. What has happened is essentially the importance of this post-mortem existence heavens and hells and this loka and that loka and stories around that, is being regarded as something of considerably less value. What is emphasized is the word that is being used is the soul, but what it really means is that the truth is hidden in the core of our being itself. It is in the here and now that the solution needs to be sought, not in some post-mortem reality, imagined or otherwise. And so, what the entire Vedanta does, or the Upanishads do, is it brings back our emphasis from stories and the narratives of the karma kandins. So this is where Shankara went full blast against the approach of the karma kandins. Essentially, emphasis on these narratives and stories. You pour havihi or ghee into the fire so many times with your left hand, so many times with your right hand, then dance around it. All this rigmarole, this is discarded, and what is the aim and end of this exercise is being emphasized here. That whole business of karma kandin is essentially giving didactically, dictatorially, a certain bunch of narratives, a certain bunch of stories that you are supposed to accept without questioning. And here what Vedanta is emphasizing is it is addressing the questioning mind. And if the mind does question and is not to be satisfied by these children's stories, children's bedtime stories, then it needs to have an avenue through which it inquires. Enquiry does not mean some kind of an indisciplined, nihilistic discarding of various things. It is guided, as Shankara never tires of telling us, it's guided by this one fundamental quality that is called Shraddha. Shraddha does not mean belief, does not mean blind belief. What it really means is that it involves this preceding conviction. There is truth in and through all this. There is truth in all this. And it will repay investigation. It is this conviction that there is truth, which is called, and the dynamism that it brings to life. It is not some armchair acceptance, oh, there is some truth in this. That's about as good or as bad as this believing in a narrative. It does not impel the individual towards activity, towards dynamism, towards practice. But it is when this conviction that there is truth in all this impels us to activity, that dynamical conviction in truth, not static, not just static, but dynamical conviction in truth, is what Shraddha is supposed to be about. And what does it do? This dynamism, this Shraddha, what it does, it impels us to inquire into this appearance, into these stories that have been told to us, and find what? That these stories of heavens are really somewhat superficial. That is not where the answer is to be sought. What does it do? It dulls our spirit of inquiry. Wherein do we need to seek the answer? In our own hearts, in the core of our own beings, where all the answers are really hidden. And then this is emphasized further. Here is another passage which shows the different states of realization. In the heaven of the forefathers, as a man sees things in a dream, so the real truth is seen. Again, this is a quote from the Kathopanishad. As in dreams we see things hazy and not so distinct, so we see the reality there. There is another heaven called the Gandharva, in which it is still less clear. As a man sees his own reflection in the water, so is the reality seen there. The highest heaven of which the Hindus conceive is called the Brahmaloka, and in this the truth is seen much more clearly, like light and shade, but not yet quite distinctly. And finally, but as a man sees his own face in a mirror, perfect, distinct, and clear, so is the truth shining in the soul of man. The highest heaven, therefore, is in our own souls. The greatest temple of worship is the human soul, greater than all heavens, says the Vedanta. For in no heaven anywhere can we understand the reality as distinctly and clearly as in this life in our own soul. Changing places does not help one much. Yeah? Again, he summarized this whole business, not in heavens, not in imaginary worlds, but in our own soul, in the core of our own being. Yeah? That's what he's referring to as one soul. Let me just quote the original verse from the Kathopanishad because it's rather instructive. Yatha adarshe. Adarsha is actually a mirror. Tatha atmani. As in the mirror, so is that reality perceived in the core of one's being, or if one likes the word, in one's soul. Yatha swapne, as in dreams, tatha pitriloke. As in dreams, the reality is perceived in the heavens. Yatha apsu pari iva dadrishe, tatha gandharvaloke. Yeah? So, as in a wavy water, your reflection is broken up, so and so also in this world of the Gandharvas. Chaya tapayoriva brahmaloke. And in the Brahmaloka, it's like light and shade. Where then is reality to be perceived? Not in these mythical worlds, but in the core of our being. Yatha adarshe tathatmani. This is the first word, first expression, and that is exactly what has been emphasized by Vivekananda here. The highest, as a man sees his own face in a mirror, perfect, distinct, and clear, so is the truth shining in the soul of man. The highest heaven, therefore, is in our own souls. The greatest temple of worship is the human soul, greater than all heavens, says the Vedanta. For in no heaven anywhere can we understand the reality as distinctly and clearly as in this life, in our own soul. Again, the emphasis is to draw our mind back from these little narratives in which we get lost and lose our way, and direct it again to where the truth is really hidden in the core of our own beings. No world to blame, no world to praise, but if the quest is for reality, it is to be hunted for within ourselves. Nobody else can help us towards this. And then he explains that further. Changing places does not help one much. I thought, while I was in India, that the cave would give me clearer vision. I found it was not so. Then I thought the forest would do so. Then Varanasi. But the same difficulty existed everywhere. Because we make our own worlds. If I am evil, the whole world is evil to me. That is what the Upanishad says. And the same thing applies to all worlds. If I die and go to heaven, I should find the same, for until I am pure, it is no use going to caves or forests or to Varanasi or to heaven. And if I have polished my mirror, it does not matter where I live. I get the reality just as it is. So it is useless running hither and thither and spending energy in vain, which should be spent only in polishing the mirror. The same idea is expressed again. None sees him, none sees his form with the eyes. It is in the mind, in the pure mind, that he is seen, and this immortality is gained. So this first part, yes, occasionally going to a place of pilgrimage might help. Occasionally withdrawing from the world and living in some measure of seclusion might help. What is the point of all of that? The point of all of that is to bring out the truth from within oneself. The focus is to be there. The external circumstances which we seek with such gusto are only a support at best. That cannot be the aim and end of things. The aim and end of things is to dive into ourselves and find wherein is this obstruction to the perception of truth. And we see that it is in this clouded mind. It's my mind which becomes clouded, which becomes tempted to throw out all these coatings, these coverings. It is there that truth is to be sought. So if one needs to get an answer to how to remove these obstructions, one needs to understand that there are no obstructions outside, but it is in the perception of the mind, it is in the clouding of the mind that the obstruction is. A cheerful person who does not require anything from outside to make that person happy, is already living in a condition which we seek when we go to these places of pilgrimage. So the most sought after real pilgrimage is to dive within. It is in the core of our being that all of this is really hidden. I'll conclude by reading a few verses from the Kathopanishad that just come after this. Indriyanam prithak bhavam udayasta mayauchayat prithak utpadnyamananam matva dhiro na shochati. Indriyanam, senses. Prithak bhavam. Prithak is different, separate. Bhavam, ideas. Udaya asta mayau. They come and they go. Udaya is coming, the sun coming up, and asta is the sun going down. Udaya asta mayau chayat. Prithak utpanya mananam. These are giving rise to different things. But in essence, it's not part of me. Matva, having known that, dhiro. Dhiro is somebody who is equipped with a steady, penetrating intellect. Na shochati. Does not surrender himself or herself to sorrow. What's being talked about here is essentially the following, that we have a certain perception from the world, and then very often what happens is that we have created an imaginary story about some event that has happened. Some little thing happens, and then we throw over it our various interpretations. This tendency of the mind, say for example, one person comes and tells us something. And then our mind keeps on dwelling on that. It might be offensive, it might not be offensive. But then we very often are inclined to take that as something which is a personal affront. So we take this little stimulus from the world in the form of somebody, another person's action or or statement, and then we cover it by our own clothing. And then when it has become, we have basically given rise to a demon from a seed. And then that demon starts covering our mind, and it is beyond our control. What has happened is that there was something that came from outside, but our mind gave it power, gave it energy. If we, at the moment it came in, if we can detach ourselves and say that such and such a thing has happened, I am not going to spin narratives in my mind because it's a waste of time and energy. Am I supposed to investigate all these stupid things from outside? And suppose that person was actually trying to be offensive. So what? If that person was trying to be offensive, then that person has met success if he or she has offended me. But if we look at the words or the action or inaction of this other person, separate it out and say, okay, such and such a thing has happened. How I decide to react to it, that action is not in my hands. How I decide to react to it is in my hands. There are various things. One, oh, such and that person was probably in a bad mood, so did this. Or might not have meant this, or was actually trying to offend me. How does it matter what that person's motivation was? It's like an arrow that has come and has penetrated me. What is my business right now? Not investigating where that arrow came from, which means what motivated this other person to shoot it at me. All that I am supposed to do is take it and throw it away. Not be affected adversely by this thing that this other person has thrown at me. If that, then paradoxically, if it leaves me unperturbed, undisturbed, if the person was indeed trying to offend, nothing will frustrate that person further. Paradoxically, this is what happens. I'll conclude this with this one story, which I think I've mentioned here. This is when I was a young novice, maybe 1 or 2 years into this organization, and I was in Madras, and Swami Gautamanji, our most revered President Maharaj right now, he was in charge of this Madras center. And there was one particular school which the Ramakrishna Mission ran, and they were on a strike. Yeah? There was something that was going wrong, so they had some demands, and they had gone on a strike. There were 20 of us young novices in Madras at that time, and Gautamanji said, no, there are so many of these young monks, they will go and teach in the school. We don't need, they let these other guys go on strike. So we would go along and teach mathematics, English, physics, etc. to these young school kids. When we were going in, the headmaster, who was the person who was in charge of all this strike business, in front of me, I saw him behave incredibly offensively to Swami Gautamanji. I mean, he shook his fist in his face and said in Tamil that you will fall at my feet and beg pardon. There was a young driver who was there with him. He was extremely devoted to Gautamanji. He was angry. He was really angry, and he was about to go and say something to this offensive headmaster and say that, do you know who you're talking to? But I noticed Gautamanji's face in the presence of this person insulting him in this way, completely calm. I mean, usually he is very cheerful and animated, but when this kind of an adverse situation happened, his face was exceptionally peaceful and serene, as if that offensive words have just completely left him untouched. And so with a hand, he held back his devoted driver and said, "No, let this person say whatever he has to." Complete calmness and serenity in the face of extreme offensive behavior. There's one small thing, perhaps he himself did not register it, but this was 98 or thereabouts, and this is 1998, and this is 2026. Close to 28 years back, 27 to 28 years back. But somehow, that expression of complete serenity in the face of deeply offensive behavior, every time I think of it, I feel inspired. And see, there is a reality in all this. There is truth in all this. It is possible to train one's mind so that all this nonsense that comes from the world, even if it is with an express intent of offending us, is something that we can train ourselves to disregard, to treat as trash, which is exactly what it is. What happens is that person is venting some steam. It is garbage. It comes out and it's finished. What is our business? If we react, we just increase the poison in the system. Move off and let it pour forth and exhaust itself. That's what he was doing there. What is being, and here it's this verse here. Indriyanam prathak bhavam udayasta mayauchayat. These things that are perceived, they come and they go. Prithak utpanyamananam. Having seen these as coming from different sources, matva, dhiro. Yeah? This example that I was mentioning, this is what dhira means. It means that the whole mind is focused, calm, undisturbed by this offensive situation that has come up. Matva dhiro na shochati. Does not allow himself to be caught in the throes of this action and reaction, but sinks back to his own being and sees this for what it is, an ephemeral phenomenon like bubbles that will come and vanish in course of time. We'll return to this later. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.